When you think of Turkey, you think of it as the cradle of civilization, a place where I decided to travel to during an unprecedented time in 2020. What was it like to travel when not many were? Was I worried about getting sick? Well, now is the time to find out. I'll talk to you about my entire journey, give you hints and tips, and tell you what I really learned from the entire experience. So 2020 wasn't meant to be a year that I was going to be travelling, so when I had the opportunity to go to Turkey, I wasn't too sure exactly what I was expecting in terms of whether I would have the freedom like I usually do when I travel. So that was in my mind, and obviously the big thing was obviously this virus that was going around. Now, I took a calculated risk in terms of whether I was going to get it or not, whether I was going to be stranded, but I thought it was worth taking that risk. Usually I would have nerves in terms of traveling to a new country, but it wasn't that sort of nerves. My biggest worry was I going to be stopped at the gates when they check my temperature and say, you know, you've got a high temperature so you can't go. But I'll discuss some of my journeys, but give you tips on what I got from my time in Turkey and some of my memorable moments, and hopefully you get some inspiration. Just want to get the disclaimer out the way that I had no affiliation with anyone. The itinerary, the recording, everything was all on me. No one paid me to do this, and no one's paying me to talk about Turkey. So now you can enjoy the video. I was off and I was on my way to Manchester Airport, where I was catching my flight to Istanbul. Here I am at Manchester Airport, and I have to say it's been pretty smooth. You know, they've got all the measures going from hand sanitizers to social distance, all the markings and everything, so I'm pretty impressed. And yeah, I think it's been okay. So, you know, there wasn't many people, you know, going through customs, so it was easier to go through, not much delay. I mean, I've come an extra hour early, you know, than the usual of 2 hours that they say. Biggest concern is when you land and they take a temperature check and they go, oh, you know, you got a high temperature, but it could be just I'm just warm. So you know, we'll see. That's my only stress, but otherwise it's like just hoping it's going to be okay. Very, very calm, so it's pretty good. Usually would be packed, but it's not. As you can tell, it's so quiet. Just walking through here, you know, it could be busier, but it's not. It's, you know, I quite like it actually. It's not too bad. So boarding now, and had my temperature checked as well, which was okay. That was my only big concern, but yeah, all good. So I thought it would be fairly quiet, but actually I'm sitting next to someone, so it's not as social distance as I thought it would be. Made it to Istanbul. It wasn't a very good flight actually. In fact, it was absolutely crammed, so I was really surprised how everyone was just sort of sitting next to one another. So but yeah, so here comes the fun. I have arrived at my destination, which is a town called Sultanahmet, which is Old Town, and I believe it's meant to be fantastic. And as you can hear, the prayers have gone off for the night prayers anyway. So I'm right next to the Blue Mosque. But the journey itself wasn't that enjoyable. wearing the mask. I mean, it took something away from the actual journey, so, but nevertheless, I'm here and I'm quite hungry, so I'm gonna go get something to eat. I decided to go to a restaurant near the hotel that night just to sort of ease into it, and I ordered some kebabs. Actually, the kebabs throughout Turkey were not that great, and I think I stopped eating them after a few days. This street is usually hustling and bustling, and from what the locals have told me, you wouldn't have space to sort of walk through it because of the amount of people that walk past. It's not too far from the Blue Mosque, so yeah, it's just sad to see. It's just gone past 6:30 AM here, and I'd forgotten what it was like to stay in a country where, if you're staying by the mosque, that call for prayer is going to go off. So if you've had maybe one too many, or you've had a late night, then you are waking up with that. And I'm staying right by the Blue Mosque, and there's another mosque right near it, and it went off, well, both at the same time. It's like, oh man. So I'm up regardless. I'm at the Blue Mosque, as you can see in the background there. Unfortunately, there are some constructions being done inside, so I didn't get to see much. Now, the city of Istanbul is absolutely beautiful. Now, usually I'm not much of a city person, but there were some iconic scenes, especially, as I said, the Blue Mosque, and the view when I went to see the skyline was pretty awesome. And Galata Tower is something that you should definitely go and see as well. Definitely worth a walk up to. It's not too far from Sultanahmet itself. And wherever you go, you're going to be getting Turkish tea and baklavas galore, so just take it in your stride. The next clip, there is something that you must try when you go to Istanbul. I decided to do a boat tour, so apparently there's some pretty cool views, so yeah, it should be good. Hopefully my motion sickness doesn't kick in. The boat journey lasted about 2 hours and it cost me around $20. You can get tickets anywhere, and I got mine near the Blue Mosque. There are some iconic scenes which included the Maiden Tower. All in all, it's worth doing when you're there. Now, you have to go see the water with the lights at night, which is in the little square with the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia. Now, this place is actually heavily guarded. The reason why that is, Hagia Sophia was a church and it reopened as a mosque. It's to do with political reasons, which I won't go into, but you will be searched and checked by the police. I did say the kebabs in general in Turkey weren't too great. However, you must try a testi kebab. It was served in a clay pot, with the presentation being spectacular. Tatuk Abatomu, I think that's how you pronounce it. So heading over there and then getting a bit of scenery there. Apparently there's not many people around, which is great, so it will just be myself and it's sort of slightly off the beaten track. I had to ask a local, so I'm heading off there now. I'm just going to find a taxi. What happens when you get there? The place where I've come to is actually closed, something that I wasn't told, but I will have to go to another place called Belgrade Forest, which is not too far from here, so I'm just walking up to get a taxi, or find a taxi anyway, so it's a bit of a shame. I am in Belgrade Forest now, so I've just arrived and it's absolutely lush, you know, greenery, not many people around, which is great, so just going to go on a hike and see where it leads me to. It's pretty cool. So I'm completely away from everyone and so relaxing, actually, you know,
funny thing is, you know, social distancing is still a thing, and you couldn't be any more social distance than where I am right now, so it's pretty amazing.
If you are looking to get away from the city, definitely consider the hike in Belgrade Forest. Going there and back, it cost me around about $20, and as I said, it's very peaceful, some great sceneries, and the hike's pretty good. I was heading out of Istanbul after that night, and I just quickly want to show you a bazaar which is meant to be really busy and how empty it was. It really was a buzzkill, but it was the signs of times we were living in.
Bit of a problem. I can't travel anywhere without something called a HEC. It's going to be more expensive than I thought. Obviously, usually I can get on a local bus and get to places, but I'm just trying to sort out something now to go to Cappadocia, so we can do like the air balloon and everything. So it's a bit of a shame. I managed to get a ticket to Cappadocia. I had to do a bit of wheeling and dealing. I managed to get it for about 160 euros, which includes a night bus and hotel stay and a day tour, which I thought was a good price actually, considering how much I paid and considering they told me I couldn't go on that same bus.
I had time to kill before my bus ride, so I found a Turkish bath as they were all open, and when you're in town that is an absolute must if you've never experienced it before, and I have to say it was very safe. It cost around about $20 for an hour and a half. There are plenty of them around, so you could just pick and choose. Now, it was worth visiting the Grand Bazaar, especially if you're looking for knockoff goods and perhaps spices. For me, even though it wasn't crowded, I didn't particularly enjoy it, and I got out of there as fast as I could.
I am at the bus stop, heading off to Cappadocia. It's about a 12-hour journey. Should be. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I mean, I've done long hauls before, but it's a case of sleeping through it this time.
Now, in general, I didn't enjoy any of the bus rides because of the fact that you had to wear your mask, but it was the best way to travel around.
Just come for a bit of a bathroom break, but I was like fast asleep when the host said, "Right, break, 25 minutes." I was like, So just going back now, but yeah, been a smooth ride so far.
When I was dropped off after my long bus journey, I could not believe how amazing the scenery was, and this was from my hotel balcony. The tour was booked, of course, and this was the best way to see everything in one day, and because there was only a couple of us, you had plenty of time in one place and enough time to soak up the atmosphere. Plus, I managed to get a massive bargain on one thing.
I've managed to get a deal for a hot air balloon for tomorrow for 80 euros, which is like cheap as chips, you know, so can't wait to get going for that. Usually it costs around about 200 to 300 euros, so to get it for that cheap is ridiculously good. So
the landscape is absolutely amazing, and you are in awe of it all, and I have to say I did not want to leave this place. With the tour, there was a visit to a pottery shop. Sometimes when you go to places like these, they try and push you to buy something, but I didn't feel anything like that at all. After the tour was over, which was definitely worth the money, I headed to a spot which was near my hotel to get a spectacular sunset. You have to pay 3 Turkish lira, mind you, to go up, and because of the current climate, there wasn't many people there. It's definitely a must when you see that sun setting.
It's been a bit of an eventful day today. Came in on the bus, got on my tour. Yeah, I managed to go see a sunset, which is not too far from my hotel, and met a couple of British guys. You know, just went out for dinner with them now.
So that morning came, and hot air balloons are supposed to be a spectacular
event in any situation, and I must say it did not disappoint. Just finished off the hot air balloon and it was pretty spectacular. Someone yesterday said to me they were in tears because they were overwhelmed by it, but it wasn't that overwhelming, but it was good. They just awarded me this certificate to say that I've completed it, so it's not a bad spot to sort of finish off on either, so pretty good. Doing the air balloon, I've decided to go to the place where the BBC travel show went, which is in Nevsehir, and see the largest underground caves. They discovered it a few years back, and the BBC went about 3 years back with Henry Golding as the presenter at the time. So looking forward. I'm just waiting for my ride ready to come, and then I'll head off and video a couple of places, but should be pretty cool. I highly recommend this place. It will cost you around about 180 Turkish lira there and back from Cappadocia. As you can see here, it's a mosque. If you go through this way, there's more. As you can see, it's hard to imagine that these people, there used to be people that used to live around here, but now it's all deserted, of course.
And this is door.
It's a bit of an honour to come here actually, as there is absolutely no one around, and I've been given a private tour around the entire place. Obviously there's no one here, but they'll be opening it up next year to the general public, and you would have to pay. And then, I've been lucky enough to get it done, well, take pictures and everything all for free, so pretty fortunate, I have to say. For those who aren't vegetarians, you should definitely try the local fish. They are brought in every single day from the sea, and the prices are very genuine because the amount of fish that you get on your plate is a lot, and the meal is absolutely exquisite. I booked a ticket to Adiyaman, which is about 6.5 hours from here, so I will be going to Kayseri first, and then from Kayseri to Adiyaman, another overnight bus, so should be alright. Before I left Cappadocia, I had to go to a Turkish show. There was a lot of dancing, a lot of eating. Actually, people were dancing together, which I didn't do for obvious reasons, but it's definitely worth going to. Today I am quad biking for the first time. Whilst I'm here, it's so cheap as well, I might as well. So, and there's hardly anyone here to be quite honest with you, so it's not too bad. Quad biking is definitely worth the money, and I only paid 150 lira, which was obviously cheaper than what it might be usually. And after this I went and took my overnight bus to Adiyaman. I've arrived from Cappadocia to Adiyaman. Now my plan is to go see Mount Nemrut, which goes back centuries and is the most outstanding thing I've seen when I was doing my research. I negotiated a deal with the hotel and got one of them to take me to Nemrut and back. It cost me $70, which I thought was a great price considering it took an hour and a half to get there and back. And because it wasn't really an organised tour, we stopped at other various places to get some great look at a few monuments before the main ones. I've arrived in Mount Nemrut and it's absolutely incredible, some of the carvings of the stones, and it's by far one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. As you can see, it's spectacular. After a long day, I decided to get something to eat, and the hotel staff suggested that this Mexican place was the best restaurant in town, and it was pretty good, I have to say. I think the reason why they suggested this was because it was slightly more westernized. There are some local places you can eat and it's very cheap. Otherwise, I highly recommend this place, and they do have live music as well. It really was an outstanding day. My driver took me to Nemrut, Mount Nemrut, and it was, I mean, if you see some of the pictures that I've taken, it's incredible. I think it's an unknown part of the world that people haven't explored yet. I mean, I heard maybe one American there, potentially lives in Europe, but apart from that there was no one else. It was just the locals there. But hopefully people who viewed these pictures will definitely put it on their list of places to come to anyway, because I mean, Adiyaman, who knows about it? I'm on my way to Diyarbakir now. It's about a 2-hour 48-minute journey, or about 3 hours, let's just say, with the stops. So it's now what, local time 8:45. So hopefully should be there by 12. I've got the whole day to do whatever I want really. So I've got a few things planned, but not sure how long I'll stay there for. Maybe a day, maybe 2 days. I'll see how I feel, and then the next stop will be Mardin. So there is quite a bit to do here, which I will show you around, and everything's close to me as well. My hotel is right next to the centre. Well, I am in the centre, I should say, so everything's walking distance, so no taxi fares or anything required. I was told the food here was made back in Istanbul, so I'm in a restaurant now, so I'm going to give it a go and see what it's like. Food was absolutely delicious. It's probably the best food I had in Turkey, and if you're in Turkey you must come to Diyarbakir just for that. Diyarbakir, I would only recommend spending a day there, as you can see everything within that time. The biggest attraction for me was the Grand Mosque, which I spent an hour observing. You should also go to Salda Lake, where you can enjoy the atmosphere and drink tea. Overall, I would say it's definitely still worth going, and you should definitely not skip this town. I'm off now to Mardin. I'm on a minibus, so I'll be heading off in about 5 minutes. It takes about an hour to get there. Mardin is even more beautiful from what I've heard from this place. For a ride now in Mardin, bit of a dodgy ride actually. Took a minibus to save a bit of cash, but the guy just dropped me off middle of nowhere and then had to get a taxi here. So gonna start exploring now. There's quite a bit to see, so I'll decide what I'll do tomorrow. Might stay one more night, but most likely I'll move to the next town. The exterior is absolutely stunning, and I think there's like a castle up there or something, but it's phenomenal, I have to say. So I mean, the view from here is awesome. Say hello, parrot. Hello. Hello. No? You don't want to talk? No. I asked a local and they were telling me that not many tourists come here, maybe once in every blue moon, but I love the fact that I'm the only sort of, well, tourist from Europe or anywhere in the world really to be here, so it's great to be here actually. I love this place. I decided to stay here for 3 days as I just could not get enough of it. The exterior of the ancient buildings was spectacular. It was so cheap here to stay as well, and the sun was baking hot, which I loved. I highly recommend this place. You should definitely put it on the top of your list when you come to Turkey. It's a pretty surreal experience. It's like, reminds me of like the Medinas in Morocco, but also the favelas in Rio. Not as dangerous, of course, but pretty awesome, I would say. I mean, these are, as you can tell, incredible. You see all of these numbers here. As you can tell, they're all houses of people, so it's pretty amazing. As I said to you, I mean, in Morocco, you would have people. I mean, it'd be like a sort of a hotel, but here there's no such thing. It's all people's houses. You have to get a cutthroat shave. They do your nose hair and your ears as well. When you're in Mardin, you should try the local cafes. They serve up some great chai and the hospitality was amazing. Everywhere I went in Turkey, they kept giving me free tea and treats. In particular, I would say Mardin was the best place for it. And I caught an amazing sunset the day before I left. It's been a good few days here in Mardin. I decided to stay an extra day, and I think it was a good decision because I went to like a local cafe and everything. So I've now arrived in Sanliurfa, which is about 3 hours from Mardin. Now this place has got one of the world's most oldest heritage sites. It goes back to like the 10th millennium BC, so it's meant to be spectacular and people from all around the world have come to it. So I'm just about to go now, and there's another museum as well they said I should go to as well, but my hotel's not too bad either, so it's pretty cool. Usually this place will be absolutely booked, and you know, you'd see everyone here packed to the rafters having their breakfast now, but as you can see, you know, over there, you know, nothing but fresh air. The first place I decided to go to was Gobeklitepe. Now this was the only reason why I came to Sanliurfa, to visit the historical site. Now I managed to get my hotel to get me a taxi ride for there and back for around about 300 Turkish lira. I had to pay for the entrance fee, which I think was around about $20, but it was definitely worth it. Now the stones here are actually meant to be older than the pyramids and Stonehenge, so it's a pretty remarkable site, and it's probably one of my favourite things about Turkey so far. The site was first discovered in 1963 by Istanbul University and the University of Chicago, and in 2018 the site was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And just to give you a bit more information about where it is, it's about 12 kilometers northeast of the city of Sanliurfa. The tell, which is the artificial mound, has a height of 15 meters and is about 300 meters in diameter. I highly recommend this place. I know it's not as popular as the pyramids, for example, but it will be in the near future in my opinion. Definitely make your way there, as it is one hell of a site. After finishing Gobeklitepe, I headed off to a place called Harran. This was the deal the hotel made with the driver to take me there after seeing Gobeklitepe. So this is a very old town. Over there, just over there, is the very first university, from what I hear. But this is sort of bordering Syria. It's about 18 kilometers away, so there's some historical stuff here.
They come, and after that I show you everything here. Going to show you Shoaib city.
Harran is 44 kilometers southeast of Sanliurfa. Unbelievable in my opinion. It's definitely worth going, and I know the governments warn people not to go down there because of conflicts and troubles, but I didn't see any. I do explain a little bit more in my summary at the end what I've thought of it, but it's definitely worth going.
It's been a crazy day, so I'm going to get something to eat. But no, I don't know what I'm going to do for tomorrow. But
I spoke to the owner of the hotel and he suggested I go here. I'm here in Old Helfeti, and as you can see the lake here is amazing. And you've got the old town right there where people live, but the colour is outstanding. I mean, if you're in Turkey, you have to come through here. The scenery was amazing, and the lunch that I had was exquisite as well. Now, to get to Helfeti from Sanliurfa, I actually booked a driver who took me there and back for the price of 300 Turkish lira. I did this through my hotel. Whilst I was there, I decided to take a boat ride, testing my motion sickness. Again, another gem I discovered, and it's a must when you're in Turkey. Now, one thing you must do when you're in Sanliurfa is go to a Sira night. It is very traditional. I had an absolute ball. There wasn't much social distancing being observed, but when you do travel, I'm sure there won't be any issues. And I finished the night off wandering around and looking at the beautiful mosque. And this was my last night in Sanliurfa, and in fact was meant to be my last night doing anything before I flew back to Istanbul and heading back to Manchester. But I did change my mind, as you will find out later. to a mosaic museum in Sanliurfa, and it's absolutely amazing. It's probably one of the best museums I've ever come across. If you can have a look through here, it is absolutely outstanding. Unfortunately, there's no one around here, so that's the sad thing about it, but I get the whole place to myself. I flew back to Istanbul for the weekend. I was meant to fly back home, but then I decided not to due to this reason. Getting the news that I have to quarantine when I go back has been a little bit deflating, so I've decided to maybe stay another week here and see parts of Turkey that I've not seen, like Pamukkale, Dinzili, Salda. Apparently that's like the Maldives of Turkey, so just going to do that now instead. And I was off again, and I flew out of Istanbul after that weekend to Pamukkale, as I said. After that, my plan was to go to Salda Lake, then to Izmir. Budgeting wise, it wasn't going to cost me much either. I am now in Pamukkale, which is about half-hour drive from a town called Dinzili. As you can see up there, it's all in ice. Pretty cool. I'll be going for a swim tomorrow morning, but I'm down the lake here, no problem whatsoever. This was a view from my bedroom balcony. It was absolutely fantastic. I didn't pay too much either for the hotel, so it was really good. Pamukkale itself, I have to say, it was a joy. I mean, some of the scenes, and it's situated in the western part of Turkey, known for its mineral-rich thermal waters flowing down the white travertine terraces, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was definitely worth the money, and it cost around $20 for the entrance fee. But the next activity I did was a first, and it was a big highlight of mine. We're about to go off now. This is my first time paragliding, so let's go. Walked out. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. So walk. Whoa.
Excuse me. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I am flying.
Like a Superman.
Like Superman, yes. I've always wanted to be Superman as well. Yes. Oh wow, look at that. Look at the view. First time paragliding. Maybe not the last time. Now in normal times this would have cost me a lot more than what I paid, which was $70, and I was over the moon with that price, and it was absolutely worth it, and I highly recommend it when you're in Pamukkale. For those who have paraglided before in the past elsewhere, this is definitely worth still doing in this town. So my time came to an end in Pamukkale, and I spent 1 day and 2 nights there, which I would say was enough time to get a good feel of the place. My balcony view this morning, as you can see, absolutely beautiful. After watching the air balloons, I got a driver to take me to Salda Lake and back to Dinizli for around about $80, which was absolutely worth it. This is the Maldives of Turkey. It's pretty awesome, I have to say. Now this was around about an hour's drive east from Dinizli, and the water was absolutely beautifully clear. Due to the circumstances, again, there wasn't many people around, but it's definitely worth still going to. After the lake, I took a coach ride from Dinizli to Izmir, which cost 20 Turkish lira. This is the historic clock tower located at the Konak Square in Konak district in Izmir. is considered as the main landmark of the city. I absolutely love this place. If I had to choose between Istanbul and Izmir, I would choose Izmir. For me, it had everything that Istanbul had, but it was a lot more serene, and I felt the social scene was a lot better. But that's just me. It was a lot more cost effective as well compared to Istanbul, and I spent in total 4 days here. When you come to Izmir, you have to make your way through to Ephesus. I managed to book a private tour through my hotel for the cost of €80, which included a full day with a tour guide, and lunch was provided. There were plenty of other tour companies online you could have chosen from. Now what you're looking at is my first stop, which was the House of the Virgin Mary. This place was discovered in the 19th century. There was a statue of Virgin Mary and the house itself. I was not allowed to film from it inside, but I did take some videos from the outside. For me, this place was okay. It's part of history, but I don't necessarily think you're missing out if you do skip this place. Ephesus was an ancient Greek city. It was said to have been built in the 10th century BC on the site of the former Azawan capital. Among many monumental buildings are the Library of Celsus, which was absolutely spectacular and a highlight, and a theatre capable of holding 25,000 spectators. That library is an absolute must. There were plenty of people still around, even with the circumstances that we were all in. I highly recommend it, and you will not be disappointed. This is like another free day for me, so I've not had many of these throughout the tour, so I'll be just relaxing. There's one thing I want to go see, but there's no running around. Usually I have a few of those during a trip, but it's been a lot of it has been just gone from place to place, so it's quite nice maybe not just to have anything planned for the day, so just see how it goes. This was actually my last day of exploring of Izmir before I flew back to Istanbul to catch my flight to Manchester, which would end an incredible journey. Back to the airport again in Istanbul, and after a couple of things I picked up from the duty free, I flew back to Manchester. Feeling a little bit flat, knowing I have to quarantine for a couple of weeks, but it was a pretty good overall trip. Did like a full 360, and yeah, a lot to sort of take from it, and a lot to learn from it, I guess.
Now, one thing I did miss, and it was a big moment for when I was travelling out there, was meeting people. Now, usually there's other backpackers, and then when you're travelling alone, it's a great way of meeting them. But unfortunately, there wasn't many people around. In fact, generally, it was difficult just sort of socialising with people because people were keeping their distance. Now, the hospitality of everywhere that I went, especially in restaurants where they hadn't seen many people for months and months, they were really friendly. They were giving me free food at times, desserts, tea, non-stop. I think it was just an understanding from them that they really appreciated that I'd been travelling around their country, and especially some of the places I've gone to, places like Mardin, Adiyaman. They don't really see many tourists there anyway, so for me to be there, they were just over the moon. And I remember in one restaurant, I had about 5-6 waiters around me, waitresses as well, sorry, I should say, and they just wanted to know why I was here, what I was doing, and it was really, really nice. Now, the time of the year I went as well, mid-September, coming up to October, it was very warm. The more southeast I went, the more warm it got. Istanbul was fairly cold, and when I was in Izmir as well, that was not too warm either, so it was around about 24 degrees Celsius, but nevertheless it's still worth taking your sunscreen for certain places. One thing I always do is go into local hotels and stay in local places. I'm not a big chain guy anyway, so stayed in Istanbul, for example, for however many nights I stayed. I think I must have paid over $150 in total, so it was very cheap. But what's the point for me anyway, what's the point in staying in big chain hotels when you're going to be out and about and not going to be spending much time in the hotel. So try and use as much of the local stuff, especially next year going forward, because they will need us. And like local restaurants as well. You know, again, I'm not a big chain food eater as well, so I won't go to any of the big fast food joints or whatever. But I think it's really important to use the local ones going forward next year. All the hotels, restaurants and everything were really cheap anyway. And you know, I was staying in some hotels, I think like a 4-star hotel for like $10 a night. I mean, it was cheap as chips. So I'm not too sure what it's going to be like when we go back to some normality, but you can definitely go there and have a great time. And the airlines as well, you know, domestically I was flying for like $12, you know, I think I flew from Sanliurfa to, I think it was Denizli, and that was like, again, $13. And then when I flew from Izmir to Istanbul, that was like $10. So I think domestic flights were really cheap, and I think it was cheaper than taking a coach. That's how cheap it was, and they were letting you put your bag through and everything for free. So again, that will probably change next year, but that was really, I mean, it was like a lifesaver really in terms of money, and it saved so much time as well. So I mean, I mainly travel through the country on a coach, and it's the best way of seeing a country, I would say. But there were certain times when I had to go back for time reason. Flying was quite easy. Another thing I do want to talk about, and I didn't really want to talk about it, but I have to, is the fact that there's been a lot of travel shaming going around. Now, I had a lot of people question me. It was fine, I answered the questions, but I don't like this thing where a lot of bloggers, a lot of travel journalists have said straight away, nope, it's not safe, you can't travel. Well, how do you know? A lot of these people that are saying these things haven't actually first-hand traveled themselves, so I just don't think their opinion is valid. If they traveled, they would know how much of a procedure these hotels, airports, taxis, people have to still go back into work. Don't forget, some of these people who are working in airports, you know, there's procedures there. So why do you not think that the travel industry is going to put these in? Every other industry around the world has done this, so do you think the travel industry is going to neglect this? So I just didn't like the fact that there were so many people out there that just constantly kept saying to people, oh, you can't travel because well, how do you know if you've not traveled yourself? Taxis, I have to say. Now, if you went to Istanbul and took a taxi to the hotel from the airport and then going back to the airport, I mean, it's not cheap. You're talking about nearly $40 for an hour's ride. And there was I think one time when I went back to Istanbul, the driver just charged me an extra $10. I was like, what's it for? It's like, oh, we're going through the tunnel. I was like, well, the other guy last time didn't charge me this. It's like, and you just can't get out of it really. So just be careful with that. I would maybe suggest booking like a transfer, so it's all inclusive, but or of course using public transport. But if you're short on time, obviously taxi is the way forward, but it wasn't great, unfortunately. Other parts of Turkey, they were all fine. I don't think I really used many taxis, to be quite honest with you. It was just mainly local buses and coaches to go to places, but it can be quite expensive. Turkey was very safe. Now, I never really got hassled by anyone. People were really friendly, you know, wanting to help. So I would highly recommend going to Turkey in terms of just your safety. You know, people were so nice to me. You know, when I walked into shops and stuff, you know, they'd offer you tea and whatever. Baklava, I had too many baklavas, enough baklavas to sort of never have any in my lifetime again. But yeah, they were very, very friendly, so I wouldn't rule out Turkey because you might think it's dangerous. And this is one thing, when I went to Harran, which is near the Syrian border, in the southeast, the guy said to me, you know, this is the first time we've seen a tourist all week. I was like, really? It was like, yeah, because, you know, government officials in other countries around the world have said for people not to go to Harran or places near the Syrian border because they think it's going to be dangerous. but there was no danger. I didn't see anything, and it was all fine for me. Not saying that it couldn't be, but I didn't see anything there. It was fabulous to just get around the country and see as much as I did. It was a real eye-opener in terms of, usually there's tons of tourists around and backpackers, and I didn't really see any of them, so it was just great just to be out there really. And when I got back to the UK, I did have to quarantine for a couple of weeks, but it was worth it, and I'll do it again in another heartbeat. So here's to 2021.